We are getting close to the midway point of the World GT Championship Season 13 here on RaceSpotTV, and we are coming to you from out in Japan. It's Twin Ring Motegi for three 20-minute sprint races of action here in the World GT Championship. My name is Paul Smith. Alongside me, as usual, is Peter Mackay. And Peter, I mean, this is a track that a lot of people on the iRacing service know well, but it is a tricky track, isn't it?
It is, yeah, a track with a lot of big braking zones, particularly at Twin Ring Motegi. So therefore, some good opportunities for some overtaking as well. And in the sprint format, we could see some really frantic stuff. And it's very tight at the top of that Pro Season Championship between Alex Davidson and Leandro Andaruti. So we'll need to see who's going to be big in Japan tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And, well, we've got some tremendous excitement coming up for you tonight. We've got a number of drivers having to work their way through from the back of the grid, but we'll go through that in a few moments' time. But, yeah, Twin Ring Motegi marks the halfway point of this 13th season of the World GT Championship. We started all the way back in January. Watkins Glen went to Interlagos, Red Bull Ring, Bathurst, Zolder last week, which caused some spills, and then to Twin Ring Motegi this week. And then after a week off, we go back to the States. Sebring is our endurance round, followed by Monza, and then Oschersleben, which is going to be new to the championship this season, and then finishing off the championship, Daytona, Manicourt, and then head off to Germany for the championship finale at Hockenheim. And speaking of the championship, let's take a look at how things stand right now. In the Pro Championships, it is Alex Davidson who leads from Leandro Andaruti by 15 points, just separating those two at the front. Those two really have been pace setters in Pro. Lucas Prada is in third place for Pure Sims Esports, with Aaron Vasquez in fourth. Christoph Krekas in fifth, ahead of Ross McFarlane, our reigning champion, in sixth. Jack Sedgwick, James Armstrong, Hunter McDaniel and Fabio Unvadrus round out the top 10. In your Pro-Am Championship, it is James Boemi who currently leads that one for Altitude Esports, just by 42 points over Platinum Racing Team's Daniel Sedgley. Pete Harrod, former champion in this championship, he's third place in Pro-Am, 114 points off of your championship leader. Justin Clarson's, Tom Brown, Ethan Critchley, with Tim Perry, Richard Simner, Kevin Bellens and Adam Watson rounding out the top 10. And in AM, it is Andy Archer who's been dominating the field there in AM for the moment for Centrism Esports, ahead of Adam Hedgecott by 137 points. Magic Sakovic is third place, ahead of Lars Van Rijn, with Sarah Raab fifth. Paddy Faulkner, Paul Crawford, Jack Osborne, Ben Gregory and Jeroen Kaiser round out the top 10. Your team's championships, well, in Pro, it's Pure Sims Esports that have an absolute massive lead over Brabham Esports, 371 points, covering first and second place, but then it's only 2 points back to the German simracing.de by ACV team. So those two pretty close together. Altus Esports in fourth, ahead of Brabham Esports, Hissing Sid. Pure Sim SimLab, Altitude Esports White, German simracing.de and Beehive Racing rounding out the top 10. In AM, Centrism Esports, they currently lead that one by just 63 points. It's quite close in the AM Team Championships, ahead of Platinum Racing Team. Altitude Esports Blue, third place, ahead of DCW Racing. Team Mad and Penguin RC Simulations are fifth and sixth places. Centrism Racing 7th, ahead of 3M UK. Inex Racing 9th, and Boosted rounding out the top 10. So we're getting ourselves all set for this opening race. As I said earlier, three 20-minute races here in the World GT Series tonight. We've got inverted grids for races 2 and 3. So real chance for some drivers and teams to get themselves some good points. And, well, championship competitor Leandro Andaruti provisionally on pole position, Peter.
Yeah, that's a great lap there from Leandro Andaruti. Of course, one of the only Porsches in the field, and making full use of the attributes of that car. There's some things it doesn't do so well, but there's some things it does do well. I would say its strongest attribute is its braking performance. That Porsche 911 GT3R, you can really lean it into corners, and Andretti, a driver of his caliber, really getting the most out of that. But he'll have the two Altus Audis of Iglesias and Vasquez, two cars that have good straight line speed as well, and just two fantastic drivers as well. That is really hot at the front of the pack.
It certainly is, and well, fair credit to James Buemi. We've been impressed by his pace last time out. 4th place in qualifying for James, so that is an incredible effort from him. Andy Archer, 14. Now, we did touch on it. We have a number of drivers who have got qualifying bans here in this one, and they're all going to be starting at the back. Hunter McDaniel, James Armstrong, Tom Brown, Ethan Critchley, Jonathan Walker, Daniel Nolt, Sophia Ridpath. They all have qualifying bans. And then 2 drivers who didn't get a qualifying lap time in either were Ben Gregory and Sarah Raab. So there's a lot of drivers at the back of the grid who are going to have to work their way through the field. But without further ado, let's give you that grid then. So it's Leandro Andretti on pole position ahead of Tristan Iglesias on the front row of the grid. Aaron Vasquez and James Buemi, row number 2, with Jack Sedgwick and Alex Davidson on row number 3. Row 4 for Ross McFarlane and Christoph Karakas, with Fabio Unvadros and Lucas Prada on row number 5. Row 6 for Justin Clarsons and Daniel Handover. Row 7 then for Massimo Locatello and Andy Archer, with Ben Palmer and Jack Osborne. Aaron Rose and Tim Perry on the 9th row of the grid. 10th row of the grid for Pete Harrod and Adam Watson, with Richard Simner and Magic Sakovic. Jensen Adriansons and Paddy Faulkner then on row number 12. 13th row of the grid for Daniel Sedgley and Mark Woodhouse, with your own Kaiser and Lars Van Rijn on the next row of the grid. Row 15 for Brian Sohn and Adam Hedgecock. And the rest of them did not score any lap times. Hunter McDaniel, James Armstrong, Tom Brown, Ethan Critchley, Jonathan Walker, Daniel Nolt, Ben Gregory, Sophia Ridpath, Sarah Raab, rounding out your 39 car grid. I think we might have to give the machine there a little bit of a slap on the graphics machine for not giving us the paints there. But, well, clear blue skies for the drivers out there. Nice and early in the morning, meaning track temperatures already at 33 degrees. Now, we've seen it in previous rounds of the championship, Peter, that when these temperatures do get hot, the drivers do struggle for grip.
They do, yeah. The lap times won't be as good as they would in the cool of the night, for example. But same for everyone, and relatively short race distance, 20-minute straight sprint for these drivers. They've just got to keep that grip level in mind, because it's going to be low from the word go with that track temperature. It always feels very greasy here in Japan when the track temperature gets very, very high.
Don't forget as well that Japanese asphalt, it doesn't give as much grip either. I think it's to do with the rocks that they use in that asphalt, so that's something that the drivers have to be aware of as well. But it's a relatively short pace lap here, so they're going to be coming through the final couple of corners just round about now. Dip underneath the oval now. Pace car will dart off to the right. There it goes. And now we're under control of Leandro Andretti in that Porsche 911 GT3R. And still 2x2 formation, waiting patiently. Now he goes. The Altus cars get caught out a little bit, and it's green flag racing here in race number 1 of the evening in the World GT Championship. Down towards turn number 1, and there's already contact. That's one of the Pure Sims esports cars around, and don't say that is Alex Davidson. It is Alex Davidson, one of your championship contenders, all the way back to the back of the field. He's lucky that there's only 39 cars in this field today, but we're keeping going on the opening stages of this race then. So now there's going to be a bit of contention in all of that. Ross McFarlane trying to move his way past, but not able to do so. Christoph Krakers and Fabio Unvadros making 3 places up so far in the early going here, Peter.
Well, that was James Buemi, the leader of the Pro-Am Championship, clipping the leader of the Pro Championship there in Alex Davidson. So controversy straight away at the opening corner here as you ride right in the middle of the storm with Massimo Locatello in his Lamborghini, trying to find ways through earlier on, trying to pick those places as much as you can. Sitting in 11th at the moment is the number 11. Now he's going to make it 3 wide right up the inside there of Daniel Handover. Oh, now does he hand over a little bit better on the brakes though in that blue and yellow Brabham Esports car.
To come out of that hairpin at turn number 10, and the Pro-Am driver of Handover, new to the series, going on the offense here, trying to get the places back, trying to get the run through the corner, and that's a nice up and under for him, and a gain of place of the Clarsons there. So moving forward in the field, on board now with Ben Palmer, and Ben in his Ferrari is in that mid-pack right now. We are green flag racing though, no safety car. That's good to see in the early stages of this race. It's a relatively wide track here as well, it must be said, so there is plenty of room for people. Although saying that, Peter, 2 cars came together at turn number 1, so maybe there wasn't enough room out there.
Just the way that the corner tightens up there as well, it can really catch the drivers out. Also, such a short pace parade behind the pace car, and very little tire temperature in, so easy to lose control there as well. But it's a good start to the race from Daniel Handover, is leading the way in the Pro-Am class, one of the highest I-rated Pro-Am drivers at 6,000 I rating, so just squeaking into the Pro-Am class, but looking very, very strong right now. Won a GT1 race, remember those? GT1 race of the SRM Daytona Classic last week, did Daniel, with the Brabham, and it was in the DPR9. You can imagine the Brabham green and gold looked superb on that DPR9.
Yeah, it certainly would look good. It would look very apt, in my opinion, with that car. We saw Jack Osborne then moving forward. He's up to 15th. Here's your own Kaiser now with James Boehme. So Boehme's trying to make that recovery drive after making contact with Alex Davidson. Davidson's back up to 30th place now. He did fall down to 37th on that first lap, so that does mean that Davidson's on a bit of a charge to come back through. And we've got to remember, reverse grids are something here that drivers will want to try and get that done as through there. Now there's a car facing the wrong way there underneath the bridge. So 96 of Paddy Faulkner, and there's also Hunter McDaniel at a standstill as well.
And Hunter McDaniel, of course, one of the pro drivers, but was serving a qualifying ban, so having to make his way through, and he's taken a tow back to pit lane. He's thrown the towel in there. Dear, oh dear, oh dear. And that is one of the parts where there is no runoff going underneath that bridge. So already a few casualties in this race. Some of the Century Sim cars, number 97, making a move up the inside. That's Ethan Critchley again, another driver who served a qualifying ban, but up to 24th. Great start from Ethan Critchley.
Yeah, he's on a bit of a charge, up 10 places in this race. There was a car off in the background then, but get back on track, so they're fine as we're coming through these right-handers underneath the oval. And I think Tim Perry has got a bit of company with James Armstrong, another one of those drivers trying to work his way through is Armstrong in that Brabham Esports car. So he's gained 12 places now. Perry's down 3, so not the best opening to this race. There's the Pure Sims car, looking to the inside. Got to be careful there, Alex. I know you're trying to make the places back in all of this, but you've got to be careful not to pick up a penalty as well when you're coming through.
Yeah, this is the danger, and the other problem for Alex Davidson is there were so many good drivers at the back who were serving qualifying bans that are in his general vicinity, so he's not going to have the same easy carve through the field as he might normally have had, so that's got to be a challenge for Davidson. Of course, it didn't appear to be really any of his own making. He left plenty of room on the inside. You could argue maybe he left far too much of a door, and that allowed people to plough in, but it's always so frantic when the race starts, as just a little tangled together there between Faulkner and McDaniel, and pretty dramatic consequences for both.
I mean, look to me, just with that one look there, that there wasn't enough room left by McDaniel on the outside to allow the space out there. I did notice that Ethan Critchell's actually dropped down the order a little bit, and this is what's happened to him. So coming round, carrying too much speed, and avoids everybody. That's well done, actually, to slot that through that gap.
Yeah, that was a bit of good fortune there, I think, as well. But you just saw just carrying too much speed in, and the rear just coming around really quickly there on Ethan Critchley. That Audi it's a quick car, but it will not give you any free kicks. If you take liberties with it, it will rip your head off. So up at the front then, Leandro Andaruti in one of the only Porsches holding on to the lead for now, with the two venerable Altus Audis right behind, with Iglesias fastest lap of the race and in second right behind Andaruti. And I tell you what, these two Altus cars, they really have been the stars of the show over the last few weeks, Paul.
They certainly have. They've really had the performance. I mean, you think back to the Bathurst endurance round just a couple of rounds ago, when it was the two Altus cars at the front having a bit of fun, and I think there was a little bit of team orders to allow Vasquez to get ahead of Iglesias. But Iglesias, we spoke to him last week, he didn't have the best of starts to the season, and he admits that he struggled to start with, but after that break, that first break that we have in the championship, he's really got a handle of this series, hasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that both of them as a duo, they are a really impressive duo, because they're always both up there at the front, and having a fast ally right there to fight with you is really helpful in this series. We've seen that, especially on circuits where drafting is very important as well. The Iglesias looking very comfortable right now, keeping the pressure on Leandro Andaruti, the privateer, and you have to say that is mighty impressive from Andaruti's, because the Altus cars, they've come from a pretty big esports racing organisation. Therefore, they've got a lot of fast drivers in the roster to help with setup data, etc. Andaruti, he's kind of out on his own a little bit. And then, of course, when it comes to actually on-track combat, he's got no one to back him up either.
Yeah, and that's it. Doing it all on your own, it is tough out there. I've raced in a few series on my own, and yeah, it is all alone, all on my own. And you try and get yourself a dancing partner out there, just somebody to work with, to try and team up with. Here we see Vasquez then in third place, giving us a great view of things as well. Nice curtains as well, nicely folded there, so nicely done. Stamps onto the brakes into this. It's a deceiving corner, is that, isn't it? Downhill braking into the 90-degree corner at 10-11. It just really catches people out.
Yeah, very tricky circuit, this Motegi. It takes a lot of track time to really get into a rhythm. It doesn't really have a very natural flow to it. It's hard to describe until you actually get your teeth into it. Look at this, you kind of like double apex and then on to the power again down the hill. Vasquez just appears to be dropping off the scent of his teammate Iglesias a little bit. It's nearly a second between them now. You don't want to get that any longer as we approach half race distance. But real focus from the young Spaniard. It just shows you that there is no resting point at all in any of these races. The concentration levels required are immense.
As we go through then, so we're reaching the halfway point of this first race of 3 tonight, and well, we have Leandro Andaruti, who's in the lead of this race ahead of Tristan Iglesias in second place, Aaron Vasquez in third. Your top Pro-Am, there you see on screen, 9th place is Daniel Handover, just 2 places ahead of Justin Claessens, who's second place in Pro-Am, and Ben Palmer is third place in Pro-Am. Then your top Am is Andy Archer, incredibly, in 13th place for Centrisim Esports. They'll be dancing in the streets of Warrington with that one. Jack Osborne, another Centrisim driver, second place in Am, 15th place overall. And then we're going to go down a bit, down to 24th. Jensen Adriansons is your third placed Am driver in this field. Just 36 cars remaining in this race. Jonathan Walker and Daniel Nault did not actually take the start of this race.
Well, yeah, that is a pity not to see them out there. And tell you what, the AM class, we talked as a bit of a look up the inside here, around with that Davidson there, and oof, nearly a rub there between Richard Simner and Alex Davidson, who's making his way through the pack after that turn 1 incident. But yeah, coming back to Am, Andy Archer again just continues to just dominate that class. All of his nearest rivals are miles behind him, and his lead continues to grow.
I have just noticed, by the way, the comment from Dylan Coyle. I am not your dad. I keep on telling you these things. I'm not your dad. If I am, something has drastically gone wrong in this world. But anyway, as we carry on in this race, through the double apex left-hander then, as we said, the 42, well, it is the answer to the question of what's the meaning of life, the universe, and everything, but we don't know what the actual question meaning is. But Richard Simner, well, he's got the number 42 on his car right now, so hopefully he'll be able to give us an answer or two. But behind him, he's got a couple of cars. He saw Alex Davidson go ahead. Tim Perry and Jensen Adrianson's behind right now. They're trying to work their way through in all of this. Not quite close enough to make any moves, though, on Simner, the Pro-Am driver.
Yeah, Richard Simner's had a pretty good time of it recently in the World Touring Car Series. He did a treble of AM class wins a couple of weeks ago. In fact, in the end, he did a streak of 4 wins in a row in that series. So
it wasn't good enough. He didn't try hard enough.
Well,
I expected 6 in a row.
It's a good job that you're not. It's a good job you're not Dylan's dad, Paul, because that is utterly demoralising. That's not very positive at all. Dylan, I'm proud of you if it helps.
No, but seriously, he has been on a really good run of form in the touring cars as Simner, though, hasn't he? And he seemed to carry that across into this series last week, didn't he?
Yeah, I think it definitely makes a difference. If your overall driving, if you're jumping between championships anyway, I think if you've got success in one, that's definitely going to bring you in a better frame of mind to another championship a few days later. So yeah, definitely Richard channeling that at the moment, sitting in 22nd position and a little bit further down in what is a hugely competitive Pro-Am class. I mean, trying to pick a winner out the Pro-Am class at any point is very, very tricky. But at the moment it's led by Daniel Handover in 9th, and James Buemi, he'll be kicking himself after that mistake, which ended up in contact with Alex Davidson, and he'll maybe be thinking, oh, that could be a penalty coming my way for next week as well. Potentially
so, as James Armstrong has actually moved up to 17th now, so that's a gain of 15 places. Sarah Raab's been dropping down the order on my timing screen, so something's happened to Sarah out there, unfortunately, in the very distinctively coloured car, the Penguin RC Simulation car. And, well, we're about to find out what happened. So, dodging the Team Mad car there. Good reactions to realise that it was either going to the back of the car in front or bail out to the grass on the side.
It was mighty car control, actually, to anticipate that you are going to run into the car in front, let the brake off, turn it to the left, miss the wall, and get it back on track again. That's quite impressive as well. But it's so easy to do here at Motegi. Big, long braking zone. That corner there is the longest braking zone. So very easy to do it. And these GT3 cars, they do have anti-lock braking systems. So yes, you can smash the brake as hard as you want, but sometimes the way that the car very subtly, adjusts the brake pressure within that ABS system can sometimes make the braking distances more difficult to guess and to judge. So easy done into that part of the circuit. We've seen it done many times before.
And it also puts a lot of heat through your tyres, doesn't it, as well,
yes.
Which is what you don't want to do, especially here around this track. Certainly, it's not ideal. It's suboptimal. We like using that term, suboptimal, and certainly you don't want to be relying on the ABS too much. Jack Sedgwick, 4th place in that Ferrari, has dropped back from the lead 3, and has got Christoph Krekes in that Brabham Esports car He's got Fabio Unverdruss in the German sim racing DE car, and then he's got two Pure Sims drivers, Ross McFarlane and Lucas Prada. McFarlane, of course, missed out on last week's race, chose not to participate, use it as a drop score, which I don't know if I agree with that methodology, but he's chosen to do that, and he's a four-time champion, so he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, it is an interesting strategy, and of course Ross known for being very tactical and analytical and being very successful from that. I don't know if this is going to be one of his strategies that comes off, though, to be quite frank. Interesting indeed. It just shows you how much of a fear circuits like Zolder strike into even the very best drivers. But Andrew Rutti's still hanging on. In fact, he's more than hanging on. He's stretched his gap to over a second from Tristan Iglesias, who in turn holds about 3/4 of a second from his teammate Aaron Vazquez. So great performance from Andrew Rutti. And in terms of the championship, well, Alex Davidson, he, after that incident at turn 1, he's back in 19th. That's going to be really touch and go whether he catches a reverse grid or not for race 2. But even in this first race, that is a big difference in points.
And we saw that big moment there for Fabio Unverdruss then on the exit of that double apex left-hander at the start of the lap. Get on the grass there and lost 2 places to McFarlane and Prada. So that's cost Fabio those 2 places, down to 8th place now in this race. And there's 2 minutes remaining in this race already. This first race has absolutely flown by as this one. Relatively calm race, he says, coming towards the end of this race. But we have got battle packs all the way through the field. It's really good to see that we've got good, close racing here in the World GT Championship as we head on down towards turn 11 onto the brakes. Once again, there's 2 Pure Sims cars. I think we'll just stay line astern and try and work forward a bit more. Although I think you're asking a bit much for those 2 to try and get with Krekus and Sedgwick.
Yeah, quite possibly, especially with just a minute and a half left to go. One drive I want to draw a bit of attention to is James Armstrong, car number 62, started from the back of the field. He's up to 16th place. That puts him in a really strong position to hopefully get himself a good reverse grid spot for race 2, and his night is really back on track. That's some superb driving to gain so many places in less than 20 minutes.
Yeah, superb stuff to work his way through. I think what has helped is that it's a little bit of a smaller field here today. Like I said, just 39 entered this round, and we've got a car off. That's car 66. That's Justin Claessen's, is it? Yeah, so dropping down the order, down to 20th place, trying to find a gap to get back onto the track. So that was round turns 3 and 4. So something has happened here to Class, and this is going to be all on their own. Just carrying too much speed into the corner, back end goes around. Oh, it gets collected by that Sentry car. Now, was that Andy Archer that collected that car? I think it was.
There was 2. There was 2 Sentry sim racing cars there involved. One with a far bigger hit, and then one with a slightly less hit. The car with the red wheels had a much smaller hit. So
I think it was Archer.
I think that, well, of course, our leader in the AM class, but with a hit like that, that could really blunt the performance.
Well, time is running down to 0, and your leader is coming through the final corner, through Victory Corner. Here we are. And, well, it's been lights to flag. Victory here in this opening race for Leandro Anderuti from Switzerland. Takes the win in this first of 3 races in the World GT Championship here tonight. As we go through, look at your Pro-Am leader coming across the line. That's going to be Daniel Handover for Brabham Esports, Hissing Sid. Great result for them. And Andy Archer hangs on with damage to the front. You can see that front right-hand corner of his car across the line to take victory in AM class. 11th place overall for Andy Archer in the end there. Great result for him and for the Century Sim Esports team. James Armstrong, a gain of 19 places in the end, up to 13th.
That's mighty impressive there from James Armstrong. There was a few there seem to be a few cars drop off the order there at the last moment on that last lap there. So it could have been to do with that incident that we saw with the German sim racing Lamborghini. But let's see who's going to get that reverse grid pole.
Yep, spinny wheel time. Let's find out. And that slows down. Oh my goodness, is it going to be a big one? Well, it's between two big numbers, isn't it? Is 25 is going to be your reverse grid. And, well, it's going to be a championship stalwart that is going to end up on pole position. We'll go through that and confirm that right now. So it is Leandro Andretti, the privateer, in his Porsche, who wins this race by 1.3 seconds in the end over the two Altus Esports drivers of Tristan Iglesias and Aaron Vasquez. Jack Sedgwick was able to hold off Christoph Krekas then for 4th and 5th places respectively. Then Ross McFarlane, Lucas Prada, Fabio Unvadrus in 8th. Daniel Handover, your top Pro-Am, in 9th place for Brabham Esports Hissing Sid, ahead of Massimo Locatello in 10th place. 11th for your top Am of Century Sims Esports driver Andy Archer, ahead of Aaron Rose. James Armstrong, great recovery drive from him from the back of the grid to 13th. That looks good for a second race. Jack Osborne, 2nd place in Am for a Century Sim Esports as well, with Ben Palmer, Adam Watson, Alex Davidson, who had a recovery drive himself after being starting up near the front, getting involved in an incident on turn 1, with James Boemi, who actually ironically finishes 1 place behind him in 18th. Pete Harrod and Tom Brown round out your top 20. 21st for Richard Simner, ahead of Tim Perry. Jensen Adriansons rounds out the Am podium in 23rd place. Ethan Critchley, and on pole position for Boosted, Ben Gregory, the only driver to have raced in every season of the World GT Championship. He has got pole position in his Lamborghini. Just missing out on that is Mark Woodhouse in his Team Mad Lamborghini, ahead of Daniel Sedgley, Lars Van Rijn, Maciej Sakovic and Sarah Raab. And then the rest of your field, Sophia Redpath and Adam Hedgecock, Justin Clarkson, Brian Sohn, Paddy Faulkner, your own Kaiser, Hunter McDaniel did not finish and did not take the start. Daniel Walker, Jonathan Walker should I say, and Daniel Nolt. So that is how things stand after the first race. The drivers will be getting themselves prepared for race number 2 in just a few moments' time, so you don't want to miss that one. Do stick around for all the action. I mean, first of all, Leandro Andretti, it looked relatively easy at the front. He had to deal with a bit of pressure in the first half of the race, but second half he was able to pull away.
Yeah, it really made the most of that, didn't he? And yeah, Iglesias, there was nothing he could really do to match the pace of Andretti, particularly late race pace there. Andretti was pulling 3/10 a lap out on those last few laps of that race, so that's a big advantage in his locker, especially when, you know, the field gets worn down with attrition in those last few laps. Andretti to come through, he's got, with that big reverse grid, he's got a lot of work to do there. The big reverse grid, however, has played into the hands of Alex Davidson, which he finished 17th in that race, so he'll get a pretty good reverse grid position for race 2. He's got to make full use of that while Andretti's stuck further back in the pack.
Yeah, he certainly will have to take advantage of that. Drivers will be getting themselves into their session in just a few moments, so do stick around with us here. Paul Smith and Peter Mackay bringing you all the coverage here. As I said, 3 20-minute sprint races here for you tonight, so not a lot of time to make up ground in these races with the reverse grid wheel, but as we've seen with James Armstrong and even with Alex Davidson as well, you are able to make up those places as well, though, aren't you, Peter?
Yeah, I mean, actually, when you look at the lap times, what James Armstrong was able to do, his optimum lap time was 0.8 of a second off what Andretti, Iglesias, and Vasquez did. So that shows you that he knows all the tricks of the trade to make the moves getting through this field. You look at, he must have executed that race absolutely perfectly. What a performance from him. If you've got another second of lap time up your sleeve, then that makes that job a lot easier, meaning that he had to just pure every single overtaking maneuver, and he did so clearly. Very impressive stuff from James Arsting. I would say my drive of the day so far.
Daniel Handover, it must be said, great to see him getting a Pro-Am win. Relatively new to the championship, taking over one of the Brabham Esports Hissing Sid drives. He has seen himself finishing in 9th place, winner of the Pro-Am. So that's good to see him getting a Pro-Am win under his belt.
I think that's a great start to his World GT career. Daniel's a pretty experienced sim racer himself. Like I said, an I rating of over 6,000. That's very impressive, and that just shows you that's still Pro-Am. You know, you go above that to go into Pro. It shows you the level of driving that we have here. But yeah, great performance from him. Tricky circuit to do it at as well, and most of all, running the coolest number in racing, car number 34. Bike number 34 was Kevin Schwantz in the Pepsi Suzuki. So yeah, he's picked a good number.
He certainly has. And well, Andy Archer, I'm just typing up some notes here. Andy Archer, I mean, what can be said about him, really? He's doing everything that he can to get himself bumped up to Pro-Am, isn't he?
He's making himself a good case for himself, that's for sure. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's again, you take into the context of I rating. Andy's 3,100, so he's about half the I rating. And as you know very well, Paul, the amount of racing you have to do to get that far up the ranking is really hard. And he only finished 2 positions behind Daniel Handover, our winner in Pro-Am. In fact, if he were in Pro-Am, he'd have finished second in class. So, and that was with someone crashing in front of him and taking heavy damage, 2 laps in the end. So, we run out of superlatives with Andy, the driving that he's done this season. It's just one of those years where it just all seems to be clicking well for him.
Yeah, absolutely. I can assure you that it takes a lot of races to get up to over 3,000 I rating. Only takes a few races to get back under 3,000 I rating. I know that from bitter experience. So we're going to see the next race in a few moments' time. But in the meantime, do sit back and enjoy these adverts from our sponsors. Welcome back to our coverage here on RaceSpotTV of round number 6 of season 13 of the World GT Championship. Paul Smith and Peter Mackay bringing you all the coverage. And, well, I don't know if we can get the track conditions here because it has got hot here in Japan. 47 degrees track temperature. Peter, this could be a very interesting race number 2.
Well, to put it in context, we had you know, we had 10 or 15 degrees, well no, 15 degrees less than that in race 1. And the thing is that, well, a lot of the drivers have been complaining in the virtual paddock of how low the grip was then, so it's going to be even worse for them in this second race as we reach just after midday in sim time. And goodness, that's going to be a big challenge for the drivers, and we'll see how they go, and especially in a reverse grid format. This could be quite the firecracker of a race. Ben Gregory, the most experienced driver in the World GT Championship history, he's going to start from pole with the reverse grid, and we hear he's feeling a little bit nervous. That's understandable, but you can't ever say no to a reverse grid pole. It's Christmas Day to get a pole.
I think the only place I've ever said I'd rather not have a reverse grid pole position was at Detroit in the World Touring Car Series last season. So that happened, and then there was a massive accident caused by yours truly. So I think I lived up to the nerves of that particular race. But no, you never turn down the opportunity of getting a pole position here. So yeah, it really is going to be an interesting second race coming up for you tonight. Of course, this is round number 6, so we're reaching the halfway point of this championship, and this is where drivers really now need to assess how things are getting on, don't they, Peter? Because you set the foundations for the first half of the season. The second half of the season is where you win championships, isn't it?
Yeah, and lose them. We've seen it many times. If you don't follow through in that second half of the season, yeah, you can get rolled over. So yeah, we've got a lot of racing still to go in this World GT Championship. Looking at the points, I mean, nothing to separate Davidson and Anderuti, and week by week the momentum just sort of swings back and forth very gently. So it's going to be about who can keep delivering and keep that pressure on, keep those mistakes out of the picture.
And of course, let's not forget as well, this coming week, we've got a week off here next week, so there'll be no race on RaceSpotTV next week. We've got a week off because it is iRacing build week this coming week. So from tomorrow, there's a brand new build being implemented from iRacing, one of their quarterly builds. And of course, as we see regularly, there's usually a balanced performance adjustment made by iRacing. So we could see actually that things swing completely in somebody else's favour in this championship.
Yeah, it's an excellent point. I mean, when you think about it, the drivers at the top of the Pro Championship, you know, we have Alex Davidson in a Ferrari, Anderuti in a Porsche, Lucas Prada in a Mercedes, and then Vázquez in an Audi. So your top 4 are in 4 different manufacturers of car. They can't all get the good end of the stick in that balance of performance reshuffle. So that is going to be a fascinating thing to see, and I'm sure all 4 of those drivers will be nervously waiting for that build to complete and to get back out on track, and they'll be keeping their fingers crossed that their car has kept the performance, and hopefully they'll be hoping that the rivals' cars haven't.
Yeah, that's it. You get that notes sheet from iRacing staff, and your fingers crossed down. You're like, oh please let it be good for my car. So they'll be keeping an eye on that for the new build, which comes tomorrow on iRacing. And there is actually 40% discount for all new members as well at the moment on iRacing, so do check that out, iRacing.com. They've not paid me to say that, I just thought I'd tell people. Anyway, Ben Gregory, pole position for the Boosted car. Alongside him is Ethan Critchley in the Century Sim Esports car, with Jensen Adriansons and Tim Perry sharing row number 2. Row 3 for Richard Simner and Tom Brown. 4th row of the grid for Pete Harrod and James Buemi, with Alex Davidson and Adam Watson on row number 5. The 6th row of the grid is Ben Palmer and Jack Osborne. Row 7 for James Armstrong and Aaron Rose, with Andy Archer and Massimo Locatello on row number 8. Row 9 for Daniel Handover and Fabio Unvadrus. 10th row of the grid for Lucas Prada and Ross McFarlane, the two teammates together there. Christoph Krekas and Jack Sedgwick on row number 11, ahead of Aaron Vasquez and Tristan Iglesias, another two teammates sharing a row of the grid. Leandro Andaruti, our race winner from race number 1 in 25th, with Mark Woodhouse alongside him on row number 13. Row 14 for Daniel Sedgley and Lars van Rijn. Magic Sakovic and Tara Raab share row number 15. 16th row of the grid is Adam Hedgecock with Justin Claessens, Brian Sun, Paddy Faulkner, Jeroen Kaiser and Hunter McDaniel. With the final car on the grid, just 37 taking the start, Sophia Ridpath. So as the drivers head on down towards turn number 11, there's a couple of drivers I want to keep an eye out for. Ethan Critchley being one of them, starting on the front row. He could be a dark horse for the win, as could James Boehme, Alex Davidson as well. Those two came together in race number 1. Hopefully for their sakes they don't end up together in race 2. Apparently James did actually apologise after race number 1 in the virtual paddock, so hopefully all is good. But out of the final corner, and Ben Gregory will set the pace here for race number 2 of the World GT Championship here at Twin Ring Motegi. Green flag is in the air, and Ethan Critchley has been caught. He's been caught napping there because Jensen Adriansen's down the inside in that Indy Autosport car. But Critchley can carry the speed around the outside. We've got an Altitude Esports car in the grass. Everybody's carrying on though, so keeping it green flag racing in towards turn 3 and 4. They're going 3 and 4 wide further back in the field, but still your front group all together here as they come out the corner. More cars off, doing a bit of rallycross. 2 Brabham Esports car. There's a Pure Sims car. That's Alex Davidson making a move down the inside and gains a place there for Alex. So up ahead of James Boehme and of Pete Harrod.
Oh, well, pretty wild start there with several drivers getting out onto the grass and very skillfully holding onto it as well. I'll tell you what, we've got to watch out here for Jensen Adriansen's in 3rd position as well. He's pretty quick as well. And Ethan Critchley also, as you mentioned, Paul, danger man in there. Here comes Critchley now as well. He's already trying to make a move there on Ben Gregory, but we know how well he can defend as well.
As they go through the right-hander, Gregory's actually lost the place. Critchley makes the move on turn number 10, the hairpin. Going downhill though, Gregory gets a run out the corner into the braking zone. Lap number 1, so tyres aren't quite fully up to pressure and temperature. Through the right-hander, underneath the oval, and towards the end of the lap. This is always a tricky section to get your braking right because you are turning all the time. And through the final corner, out that final corner, Ethan Critchley then leads in this race ahead of Ben Gregory. Jensen Adriansen's 3rd. Critchley, don't forget, was another one of those drivers who had to serve a penalty in qualifying. Started at the back of the grid in race 1, worked his way through as well, and he's been rewarded, fortunately for him, with the reverse grid front row.
Yeah, it really did work out very well there for Ethan Critchley to get so much of a reverse grid, a really big number, 25. So yeah, and he's making full use of it as well, starting to pull a couple of car lengths now from the Lamborghini of Gregory.
We're going 3 and 4 wide. James Boehme had a little bit of a wiggle. We're going 4 wide into the right-hander. That doesn't work. But incredibly, these drivers do make it work. Great stuff to see everybody giving each other space out there. Could have been so much of a big issue, but James Boehme has lost a ton of places, 5 places so far at the start of this race. So once again, Boehme getting just left out to dry right now, almost getting freight trained, but he's going to try and come back down the inside of turn number 9 and just hangs on to the place.
You can see several drivers really struggling with the grip here as well. If you watch the body language of the cars when you ask for the power, the rear end just wiggles around as they're trying to get that power down. There's no traction at all.
Adriansen's dropping down the order. Something's happened to Jensen in all of this going on. Tom Brown is to the front, and that was Tim Perry.
Just the same mistake as we saw in race 1. where, not by tipping another one on the BMWs, who just lost the braking point and just couldn't get it slowed down in time. Round he goes. Ethan Critchley is checking out at the front of the race as Edringson's getting physical there. Just look at how hard it is to get that power down. Gregory snips the nose off of Adrianson's there. They go, tries to outbrake Gregory holds the tight line, and then yeah, Gregory runs him out to the paint and more, and Adrianson just lose a ton of positions as Tom Brown goes through into second in the Brabham car. Yeah,
so it's Century Sim Esports at the front, Ethan Critchley, Tom Brown for Brabham Esports, Hissing Sid second place, Ben Gregory still for Boosted in third place. The two Pro-Ams and an arm, and those two get together, and that was Adam Watson. He did hold his brake to the end. I think Watson just didn't give him enough room, and there's another car that's come around the corner. That was Watson tried to get out onto the track and just had the worst track rejoin there because there was a car upside down. I think it might have been Mark Woodhouse.
I think Watson, it's a difficult one there as well. Just the Adrianson's car catching the quarter panel. Watching what on earth are you doing?
I'm sorry, I like Adam, and I do, but just hold the brakes, wait for people to go by before you decide to try and reverse onto the track.
Yeah, stop the car, then thought, I'll just bang it in reverse and reverse it broadside onto the track. That is inexcusable. That is so bad to do that into the oncoming traffic. Why would you do that? There was room to drive forward and flick turn the car round off the circuit, or one of the two.
I can currently sense Connery Maddock currently typing a furious message in the chat somewhere or in our Discord. I know he's a stickler for track rejoins. That's like I, to be fair. But
if you did that in the real world racing, they would cut your race license in half. Simple as that. So why do it in a virtual form?
Davidson gets ahead of Gregory up into third place. Now this is crucial for Davidson to try and recover some points. We've said previous rounds of this championship, haven't we, Peter, that if you have a bad first race, it's the second race where you need to try and make amends and try and make up as much of that difference as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. This is a crucial part of this race meeting. 13 minutes to go, and Alex Davison, he is making great progress. However, the pace of Ethan Critchley at the front really has put in a couple of really hot laps to build up that gap. Tom Brown did pull 0.3 of a second out of Critchley last time by, as did Davidson, but Davidson's over 4 seconds back, so he's got a lot of work to do if he wants to win this race and score those points to make up for the difference between himself and Anderucci, who at the moment is battling with Locatello over 15th place. There he is, the black Porsche right behind Locatello's Lamborghini.
And he's not really making the waves forward that I would have imagined that he would have done.
9 spots?
I mean, yeah, it's all right. But crucially for him, he is ahead of one of those Altus Esports cars, isn't he? So he has split those two at least in all of that as Anderucci. He's got Iglesias in front as well, who's not really a challenge in the championship. And yeah, so he's got ahead of Vasquez, which is crucial. Here's Daniel Handover, of course, Pro-Am winner in race number 1. I think he's going to struggle to win in this Pro-Am class in race number 2, but certainly he's having some good fun out there.
Yeah, he really is gelling with that Audi and this Motegi circuit, making some great moves forward as Daniel Handover's seen a lot of drivers running out wide and just look like they're just running out of grip, Paul, and they're taking a while to adjust to just how slippy this track is with that ultra high track temperature.
Yep, still 47 degrees Celsius out there on tracks. I think we've pretty much sort of hit our sort of limit as to how hot this race will get in terms of track temperature. But fortunately for these drivers, they only have to race 20 minutes in these conditions. At least it's not one of the endurance races or one of the feature rounds where it's a longer race. So I think they'll be thankful of that. But as Ross McFarlane gains a place on Ben Palmer, he's got Pete Harrod trying to follow him through. And there's Iglesias then trying to go through as well. Iglesias got caught up, and here comes Anderuti in that Porsche to come alongside the Altus Esports car. You can just see he's getting pushed all the way to track limits there. Back down onto the brakes. Porsche versus Audi, and Anderuti is almost making it past two cars here. Through this right-hander, through the double apex left-hander. Anderuti's still there. Harrod gets a little bit out of shape. Anderuti goes through, and here comes the up and under. Here comes the driver of Iglesias, and he now makes that place back again.
Superb stuff as well. I thought Anderuti had got it done, leaning onto the very edge of grip there, coming around that final chicane, but Iglesias gets it back with some inspired racecraft there from the Altus Audi driver. So this is dreamland for Alex Davidson, who's up in third position as Anderuti mired back in the pack. But let's see what Iglesias and Anderuti can do now. They had such good pace, better than anyone in race one. Now with a bit of clean air about ahead of them, and look at this bickering going on ahead of them. That's going to help to gain some positions if this carries on. That was
Buemi and Ross McFarlane. Simner's holding on to his place. Well, James Buemi down the inside says, thank you very much. I'll take the place back from you, Ross. But he's still there, is Ross. You can tell by the body language of the car. The way he held himself out wide, didn't go to the apex. And again, leaving the space on the outside. Ross should have the inside for this left-hand hairpin. They're still together, but McFarlane finally gets his way through in that Pure Sims Esports Ferrari.
Yep, so up to 10th then for McFarlane, for the defending champion. But Buemi absolutely unflappable there, battling with a four-time champion of the series. He's meant to be a Pro-Am driver, but you wouldn't believe it. Just absolutely unflustered there as well. Ethan Critchley's lead is still sort of hovering around. It's been trimmed a little bit, but he's managing the gap really, really well as the Century Sim Racing driver. If we're frank, he had a bit of a shocker last week at Zolder, but he's right back to his best this week, which is great to see.
Well, he's showing what he can do. You know, when you give him the opportunity, he's showing what he can do. I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right, and I think he'll be the first to admit that last week was a bit of a aberration, I think is the word that I would use there. It was not a good day at the office, but yeah, certainly he's enjoying being up front, although that last lap he did lose 0.2 of a second to Tom Brown. Now there's only going to be 8 minutes remaining in just a few seconds, so we're only going to get about another 4.5 laps of this race, because it is quite a long lap around here. Nearly 2 minutes. As Buemi onto the brakes. Once again, duking it out with McFarlane. McFarlane getting stuck behind Richard Simner. And Simner, we've seen, is no respecter of egos. He will fight it out for position, because for anyone new to this championship, yes, you've got drivers in different classes. So you've got the green colours in our timing tower being your pros, the orange colours being Pro-Am, and then the Am colours is blue. But they are not in individual scoring points. Wherever they finish, they take those points into their respective championship, as Anderuti made the move on Ben Palmer.
Yeah, that was a huge move there by Anderuti on Ben Palmer. I think that's Anderuti has dragged every last bit of performance out of that Porsche in this first half of the season. It's been spectacular to watch as McFarlane makes his move, and he's going to get followed with Buemi, and then, do you know what, Iglesias says I might have a bit as well, but Iglesias gets held up. Contact.
Iglesias is around. He's around. He's on the grass. Be careful now, Tristan. Don't be enough one to get the ire of ourselves here in the commentary box. There he goes. I think he was he was a bit hopeful with the move. I think it was a very late move that he made on Richard coming into the right-hander here. Look, it's very late, and he's on the brakes and just the slightest of contact. And he did get contact from his teammate, yeah.
Aaron Vazquez just clipped him just as he went by. Oh, with 6 minutes to go, so has Vazquez picked up damage on his Audi R8. So Altus Esports, a disastrous second race for them, all in just one corner. It can all go wrong. Now, Ben Gregory, our pole sitter, he was panicking at the beginning of the race. He's hung on very, very well. He's holding an overall top 5 position. The nearest am is at Jensen Adriansson's in 19th place, who started quite high up the order as well. So Gregory's driven really well, and I wouldn't say the Lamborghini Huracan is the fastest car in the field either. So this has been a great drive from Gregory's. Oh, the Brabham guys trying to sort themselves out as well, and they make a bit of contact.
Well, they're getting very close nonetheless. Yeah, that lack of grip is really showing here now into the right-hander. You know how I said, oh, we've pretty much reached the height of the temperature. We're just 0.1 of a degree away from 49 degrees Celsius, so it's got a bit hotter out there. As on the defensive, Ben Gregory's been very aggressive about this, and why wouldn't you be? You're in 5th place overall. You've got 3 Brabham Esports cars behind you, but he's gone deep, and the Brabham Esports cars say thank you very much, we'll take that place.
Yep, and Gregory just have to slot in behind. He's got a bit of gap behind him, although it is to Ross McFarlane, so the endless pressure it's just relentless out there, as well as I tell you what, the Brabham cars are really fighting hard to sort themselves out. It's Carekas that moves past Armstrong then with Handover, the Pro-Am driver in the Hissing Skids squad. I don't believe is there any subordination between them? Is it an A and B team? I just think they're painted differently, I would imagine.
The Hissing Sid team is in the pro standings along with the Brabham Esports team, so you know that they need to be working together to a degree. Worth pointing out, last lap, Ethan Critchley has caught up by another, let's call it 0.4 of a second, so it's now within a second for your race lead, and we've got 4 minutes remaining, so about 2.5 laps remaining in this race. Alex Davidson, he's loitering 2 seconds back from the leader. Business could be about to pick up here in the final couple of laps of the race.
I could see Davidson winning this. If Tom Brown continues the pace that he's been showing, of 0.4 of a second quicker than Critchley last time by, he won't be able to just drive straight past him. There will be a fight on for this win, and that will bring Davidson straight into the factor as well. And then your money would definitely be on him in a straight fight as the championship leader in Pro. But I tell you what, Critchley and Brown, the pace they've been showing, certainly in the ballpark of championship leader Davidson's pace. So this is really impressive from Critchley and Brown, but can they hang on? Because Davidson in the Ferrari, he's got the bit between his teeth here with 3 minutes to go.
Last lap across the line then, a 51.7 for Critchley, a 51.5 for Brown, a 51.3 for Davidson. So Davidson is on a charge right now in that Pure Sims Ferrari. Ross McFarlane's made his way past Ben Gregory, so gain a place for him. Oh, the Altus Esports car getting a tag from behind from one of the DCW racing cars. So Simna getting into the back of Vasquez, and change of place between those two. So we're reaching the closing stages of this second race of the evening, and Brown's actually just dropped back a little bit, so must have made a mistake on this lap, because Brown is now 1.2 seconds back instead of being about 0.6 back.
Yeah, interesting. You look at the difference in lap times, we're a couple of seconds off what we were in race 1. That extra track temperature is playing havoc for the drivers, and the lap times have really dropped off in the second half of a race. You know, Critchley, he's a second off his best, as is Brown. Even Davidson is 0.8 off his best. So the grip is just disappearing on these drivers as well, even in a relatively short race like this. And Critchley having a little bit of internet break up there as well, as we're on to the penultimate lap.
That's the last thing that he wants here, as Gregory and Andalucci, you can see on the timing tower on the left-hand side, switching positions, and they're sorting themselves out. So Davidson, what he wants for his championship is as good a result in this race as possible. There's Gregory losing place to Leandro Andaruti. Here comes James Buemi to look around the outside in the Altitude Esports car. No change of position so far, but we are on to the final lap of this race then, and it's the leading pack right now. Last lap, well, 0.4 of a second gained by Ethan Critchley over Tom Brown, whereas Alex Davidson actually caught up 0.6 of a second on Tom. So it's more of that fight for second place rather than the fight for the lead here, Peter.
Yeah, Critchley's managing this so well. He pulled out a really fast lap last time by within 1/10.5 of Davidson's. So yeah, really impressive from Ethan Critchley. The question is Davidson going to be able to make any move here as well? Tom Brown's going to fight it hard as best as he can. And this group, they're a good chunk of time ahead of Fabio Unverdrus. And then there's another bit of time back to Karekas, Armstrong, Andover et al. I
think Fabio Unverdrus, we've barely mentioned. He's just been quietly going about his business. 4th place, he'll be happy with that. Here's Ben Gregory still getting involved. He's now got Alan Vasquez behind him, trying to make his way past as the Altus Esports car. Of course, came into this round of the championship in 4th place, did Aaron. Another one of those drivers actually missed last week, so Vasquez is looking to get a good run here. Gregory, though, squeezing but giving space. Vasquez, though, looking to get the slipstream down this back straight. But I tell you what, we're going to have to go eyes forward to the front of the field, because your race leader is Ethan Critchley, and look at him. He's happy with this one. He takes a victory here. It's Twin Ring Motegi in race number 2 of the evening here in the World GT Championship. Not only is it an overall win, it's a Pro-Am win as well for him. Here's Gregory hanging on to that position. Oh, he's defended it to the end as well as Gregory as they come across the line. Who's it going to be? We'll have to make sure we get a look at that one. That is Gregory who hangs on to that one. Worth pointing out, Gregory, your top am in this race as well. So really good result for Ben after starting on pole position. Yes, he fell down to 11th in the end, but still, you'll take that every day of the week.
Oh, you bet he will. Yeah, great drive there from Ben Gregory to hold off Aaron Vasquez, one of the fastest drivers in the championship. And yeah, and he made that Lamborghini as wide as possible. He's not had the best of seasons, but that's how you bounce back. And Ethan Critchley, our overall race winner in the Pro-Am class, wins overall, and that is how you bounce back from adversity. I'm sure Ethan would have come away from last week in a pretty down over the way that went, and that is how you just put that behind you and just get right back on track. What a performance.
Well, let's see what our reverse grid is, because this could have good championship connotations for them. It's going to be 21. So, yeah, we're going to see another Pro-Am on pole position for the final race of the evening. We'll get you your provisional race results in just a moment's time. But there we go. Ethan Critchley for CenturySim Esports. Not just an overall win, but a Pro-Am win as well. 0.8 of a second ahead of Tom Brown from Brabham Esports Hissing Sid, who is also second place in Pro-Am. Your top pro is Alex Davidson for Pure Sims Esports, ahead of Fabio Unverdrus, who had a quiet race in that one for the German simracing.de by ACV team. He's in 4th ahead of Brabham Esports driver Christoph Krekas, who was 3rd in Pro, 5th place overall. James Armstrong ahead of Daniel Handover, who finished 3rd in Pro-Am for the Brabham Esports Hissing Sid team, so that's some really good points for them in the team's championship. Ross McFarlane ahead of Leandro Andaruti, who was our race winner in race number 1, and James Buemi rounds out the top 10. In 11th place, it's Ben Gregory then, top am in this race. Started on pole position. He was very anxious before the start of the race, but he finishes 11th ahead of Aaron Vasquez. Lucas Prada, Jack Sedgwick with Massimo Locatello, Richard Simner, Ben Palmer, Pete Harrod. Jensen Adriansons, who started up at the front of the grid as well, he fell down to 19th in the end. Second place in AM, though, for the Indy Autosport driver. And Hunter McDaniel in 20th place. 21st for Aaron Rose, who will be starting on pole position for the final race of the evening. Just missing out on that is Andy Archer for Century Sim Esports, 3rd place in AM, ahead of the Platinum Racing Team teammates of Sedgley and Ridpath, with Perry, Osborne, Iglesias, who fell all the way down to 27th in the end after that incident down at turn number 11. Your own Kaiser, Brian Sohn, Matt Woodhouse rounds out the top 30. Then the rest of them, it is Laszlo Ryan, Adam Hedgecock, Sarah Raab, Paddy Faulkner, Magic Sakovic, Adam Watson finishing one lap down after his questionable rejoin, and Justin Clarsons rounds out the 37 finishers. Well, he didn't finish, actually, I must point out, but his 37 starters from this race. And, well, where do we pick apart the bones of that race? Because there was plenty of action all over.
Yeah, there was, wasn't there? It was there was plenty of great racing out there. I think let's start with the positives. There was some superb stuff on show there. Ethan Critchley incredibly well defended, incredibly well managed that gap there. Tom Brown likewise very well held off to hold off the Pro Class Championship leader Alex Davidson at bay. That is quite a boast for any driver in the championship as well. So and also you look at the Andran Duruti winner in race 1, had to start from 25th. He managed to drag it up to 9th. That's a very, very good drive as well. Just got almost a little bit under the radar, but that would have been hard work.
It certainly will have been hard work indeed. Yeah, 16 places gained for Andaluti in all of that. It was 16 places gained as well for Christoph Caracas. 14 places gained for Fabio Unvadros. As I said, had a quiet race, but finishes 2nd place in Pro, 4th place. That's some really good points for Unvadros from what can we say is been a difficult season so far for Fabio.
Yeah, it has been. I mean, he's in a hugely competitive Pro class. I mean, so tricky. I mean, you think about it, you know, Jack Cedric, who finished 14th in that race, he's had quite I would say a pretty decent season. Some really good races, and you know, he's sitting back in 7th, 343 points off the top. That's how good Davidson and Andaluti have been at the top of the shop. So it is an absolute bear pit, that Pro class. So yeah, it shows you when it comes together, he's got the speed. But this is just such a tough championship. To win these titles, you've got to have everything go your way and deliver every single lap of every single race.
Yeah, you certainly do, and it's carrying any form that he can through an entire season is the most difficult part of trying to do well in the championship. We will be getting ourselves into the 3rd race of the evening in just a few moments, so do not miss a thing. I mean, Ben Gregory, he was very anxious, wasn't he, at the start of the race, started from pole position. The thing is, he did a very good job out there. Didn't panic, fought for a place as well. You know, he gave it some.
Well, there was only one other AM-class driver who finished in the top 20, and that was Jensen Adriansson, who started from, I think, the 2nd row, possibly the 3rd row, very close to the front anyway. So, yes, it was a superb drive. And the thing was, as well, is that we see differing approaches from drivers in the AM and Pro-Am classes. When pro drivers come up behind them, some prefer to just let them go and just tuck in and just focus on their own race. There is merits to that, but there also is an argument that Ben put up very well there, is that you just give away positions that you might have otherwise kept. He might have been nervous. He didn't show it because he squared up to every single top level driver, it seemed, in that race, and Aaron Vazquez tried to get by him on the last lap and couldn't, and Ben was there was no way that Ben was moving over for him, and I think that's great. He didn't do anything dirty from what I could see. He defended it very firmly, but that's motorsport. You know, he's fully within his rights to do that, and big props for having the guts to go for it.
I could tell you from experience of racing against Ben, not just in this series but in other series as well, he will, if he feels that he can race you and he wants to hold on to a place, my goodness, can he do it. He's very robust in his defensive driving. gets on the borderline sometimes, and even he'll admit that he does that occasionally. But when things just seem to fall into place for him, he could be such a quick and consistent driver, and I think he showed that in that race. Didn't panic, as he said. So yeah, well done to Ben Gregory. I can tell you now that the drivers will be happy about one thing in this third race. It's the temperature, because it has gone down as that track temperature. We're into the evening here in Motegi, and it's gone down to 25.5 degrees compared to 48 degrees that we had in that last race.
It would be a different racetrack entirely. We'll see lap times well into the 49s in this one. We were 51s there at the end. I mean, yeah, that I've never seen actually, or sorry, I can't recall the last time I saw the lap times die off in a 20-minute sprint race as heavily as they did there. I mean, there was nearly 2 seconds difference from the pace they were running at the start to the end. That's huge, and it's a big old margin for that to be the case. So the drivers, I think, will be relieved to see the track temperature down at the positively chilly 25 degrees track temperature.
Yeah, certainly we will be. So while we get ourselves prepared for the final race of the evening, why don't you check out these messages from our sponsors? We are back with the World GT Championship here. Round number 6 of the World GT Championship Season 13 here. And as we were discussing, there's the track conditions on screen. Partly cloudy, 26 degrees track temperature, so the drivers will be able to attack those tyres a bit more in this particular race. So certainly interesting to see how things get on in this final race of the evening with that reverse grid of 21 spots. It's quite a relatively big reverse grid.
Yeah, it is indeed, and yeah, that's we've seen 2 fairly big reverse grid draws in these races as well. So really shuffling the order up.
Yeah, we certainly are. So drivers are just getting themselves prepared for the end of this one. And yeah, we'll see how we get on for this final race of the evening. It is Paul Smith and Peter Mackay here in the commentary booth for you once again. And well, it's a pleasure to have you all along, and we've been keeping an eye on the chat as well. Good to see so many of you enjoying today's coverage, and well, Mark Fletcher can't wait for the Renault Clios to come to iRacing. Also, Circuit Jerez has been confirmed for this build as well, Peter. You'll be happy with that.
I am absolutely delighted about that. Jerez is a place that's very, very close to my heart. I mean, that's a very close second behind Knockhill.
Well, let's take a look at your starting grid for the final race of the evening. It's Daniel Handover, get your teeth in, Paul, who's on pole position. Alongside him is Ross McFarlane. Good shout for Ross of potentially getting a pole position here. Fabio Unvadros and Massimo Locatello, row number 2, with Jack Sedgwick and Alex Davidson on row number 3. Row 4 for James Armstrong and Christoph Krekas, with Hunter McDaniel and Leandro Anderuti. Do you know what? I don't think we've actually got the correct grid order either here on this one, but we'll carry on. Lucas Prada and Tristan Iglesias, then with Alan Vesquez and James Boemi, Tom Brown and Justin Clarson's ahead of Pete Harrod and Daniel Sedgley. Then Adam Watson ahead of Richard Simner, Ethan Critchley, Aaron Rose, Ben Palmer and Tim Perry. Jensen Adriansons with Matt Woodhouse, Andy Archer, Ben Gregory, Jack Osborne and Magic Sakovic, with Sophia Ridpath, Adam Hedgecott, Paddy Faulkner and Lars van Rijn. Well, we are going green here in this final race of the evening. Although I am getting word that we are going to be red flagging this session, and it will be a brand new session because of the issues with the grid set here. I think somebody from the admin team needs to tell the drivers out there that there's going to be a new session going up. But anyway, well, the drivers are going to carry on. So, hey, I'll tell you what, Peter, this is practice for the drivers out there.
Goodness, this could be the most chaotic race start we've ever seen if the drivers get word that it's not going to count. Well, anyway, we're racing anyway. Off we go. Had a slightly bizarre feeling knowing that it might not count after all, but nevertheless, what a getaway that was from Daniel Handover on the in the hissing Sid car, with Ross McFarlane tucking right in behind him. Fabio Unvadus right in there as well. But yeah, the grid does appear to be very mixed up from where it should be. But nevertheless, Handover leads from Ross McFarlane from Fabio Unvadus.
Yeah, certainly we have got a complete mix-up here. And here's the thing as well. Normally, I get the ability to be able to throw a yellow flag or anything like that. But unfortunately, I can't either. So, yeah, that's... So the drivers are going to carry on racing. I mean, Aaron Rose was meant to be on pole position for this race. The drivers are carry on here, and yet we've got the series admin telling us to throw a caution. We can't. There goes Jack Sedgwick. Well, it's chaos, panic, and disorder here is the way of this one. So yeah, definitely. We'll be looking to get a restart of this race. Meanwhile, the drivers are out there just enjoying themselves out there.
Well, I think when things like this happen, which they occasionally can do in all forms of sport, you just have to get your head down and get on with it, because you never know what will be. And you just got to go on there and try and get the best out of the situation. As one of the Brabham cars spins there while in contact with Anderuti. Anderuti's off as well in the Porsche. So second in the championship, winner of race 1, Anderuti, Jurito, straight onto the circuit. Oh dear, oh dear. And this is the problem. If the word starts to leak through to all the drivers through various channels that this race might not well count, or indeed, yeah, it could be null and void or restarted or whatever, that all those question marks are stuff that it could just really affect the driver's performance and concentration also.
Yeah, as well, the drivers carry on. I've been busy trying to get the word out there. I can't, but a few of the drivers have disconnected from the server. So I can tell you what's happened out there is that some of the drivers couldn't join this race server to start with, and then the grid was incorrectly set. Well, the drivers are going to carry. I'll tell you what, I've never, and I've been doing commentary for RaceSpotTV since 2015, and I have never seen anything like this happen before. This is something new to us here, that we've got a motor. Do you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of there was a football match a little while ago where the teams kicked off and there was no referee or linesman. And this reminds me a little bit of this. Everybody's set off racing, but there's nobody there to officiate things.
Well, it's there's somebody who you've got someone to settle a score with now. Might be the chance that that was a joke. No, definitely don't do that. Definitely don't do that. But Daniel Handover, I mean, what a night at the office he's had, regardless of where this race finishes. But yeah, he's made a superb start to this race from pole position. He's got 4-time champion Ross McFarlane right behind him, but he's keeping him at bay. So this is superb stuff from Daniel Handover. Fabio Inverdruis has got up into third in his Lamborghini, with Locatello right behind, and Alex Davidson right there in fifth. So again, you know, we don't know what the outcome will be from this, but all that the drivers can do is get the best result and hope that it counts. That's the only thing they can do. That's while they're in the driver's seat. And as we saw, Anderuti had a tangle with one of the, I think it was James Armstrong. Yes, it was James Armstrong he tangled with at the last chicane. They both went off, and Anderuti is right down the pack. He's in 30th. So Davidson, after looking in such difficult position after race one, he's turned it right around.
Do you know what? I actually remember in this very series a few seasons back, there was a race at Daytona. It was an endurance race, and we lost the iRacing servers partway through the session, and it's the only time that the series has ever voided a result of a championship race. I think this may possibly well be the second time that we're going to see a voided result here. So yeah, that is certainly going to be an intriguing one to see how the admins deal with this one. I mean, everybody's out there still racing. We've only had, I mean, I can't get the word out to any of the drivers, by the way. So I can't. Normally, the way this series works is that I get control to be able to throw yellow flags if there's a track blockage and everybody's absolutely blocking the track. I get to throw a yellow flag if we need to. Unfortunately, I don't have that ability, so that means I don't have the ability either to speak to any of the drivers either, to let them know, so that they're not seeing or hearing anything that we try and put through to them. But still, it's handover from McFarlane at the front of the field. Unverdruss is third with Davidson. We might as well call a race here, Peter, because you know, why not? It's a race that's happening in front of us.
And a very good one, absolutely. A real big bunch of fast drivers at the front of the field at the moment. Tristan Iglesias has just set the fastest lap of the race, a 150.173, so we're significantly quicker than we were in race 2, to the tune of over a second. So these cooler conditions really suiting these GT3 cars, and we're a good mix at the front. We've got 3 mid-engine machines from 3 different manufacturers at the front. Audi, from Ferrari, from Lamborghini as well. And Unverdruss, they are trying to break the... Whoa! They're all trying to break the toe there. Ross McFarlane going right off the circuit, trying to break the toe to Locatello, and managed to do so as well. And Davidson all over the back of Unverdruss as well. In fact, it was Unverdruss who was trying to grab the toe of McFarlane, but McFarlane was not having any of it. But it's still Daniel Handover in the Pro-Am class who leads, and you would not believe that he is in the Pro-Am class. He's got the cream of the crop right behind him, but they cannot find a way by.
Yeah, as they head on down to the left-handers. And still, great racing that we're seeing here on track. As Jack Sedgwick has gone to the pit lane. Oh, now here's an opportunity for Ross. Down the outside. Onto the brakes and turn in to McFarlane. Not able to get past for the moment and for the time being. Thought Ross McFarlane might be a good shout for this, but Handover has been showing himself to be, please don't take this pun the wrong way, very handy in that Audi.
Absolutely, he has, yes. He really is positioning the car right in the places where you'd want it to be, and that means then that McFarlane is vulnerable to an attack from Unverdrus, who in turn has championship leader Alex Davison right on his case in the 555 Ferrari. Goes, has the back out of it at the last minute there. Does Davison try to just pick the pocket of Unverdrus, but couldn't quite get it done. Iglesias getting closer there as well in the Altus Audi, and also bringing Christoph Kvekius with them in the 65 Brabham Esports Cup.
Certainly is. Davidson then 4th place, Locatello, Iglesias, Kvekius, you say absolutely right, getting brought along with them. A little bit of a gap then to Hunter McDaniel with Tom Brown and Aaron Vasquez in 10th place. Ethan Critchley, race winner in race 2, in 13th place right now as they go into this turn number 1 once again. But Handover is showing himself to be very good for his lead, and in fact was quicker on that last lap over Ross McFarlane by about 2.5 cents of a second.
That's a significant margin over a 4-time champion, that's for sure. This is amazing stuff from Daniel Handover. Well, as we said, he is one of the highest rated Pro-Am drivers, although a relative newcomer to the championship just this season. He's certainly no newcomer to iRacing as well. And with a performance like this, you wonder if there'll be calls for him to be bumped to the Pro class. But for now, it's a Pro-Am board that's on the side of the car. And Ross McFarlane still trying to find his way through, but can't. Meanwhile, Tristan Iglesias, his teammate Aaron Vasquez, has got Hunter McDaniel right behind him in one of the Brabham cars, and then it's another Brabham car and Tom Brown, who's had a super night at the office.
Yeah, he certainly has. You know, second place in that second race of the evening. So, Tom Brown having a good run of it, as we've got that is going to be Iglesias then trying to work his way through on Locatello. Meanwhile, McFarlane's trying to move through as well, and there's a little bit of a late lunge from Kvekius on Locatello. Locatello's going to hold on to that place for the time being. So yes, lost 1 place down to 6th place, but didn't lose 2, didn't get freight train there in that one. Well, we're past the halfway point of this race, and we go into turn 1 once again, and well, the drivers, they're all oblivious to what's been going on outside of the cockpit. I mean, all they've seen is a green flag, and they go racing.
Yeah, I think if you're a spotter, the last thing you can do, the last thing you should do, is tell them that this race could or could not be voided. Pretend to then like nothing has changed, because that's a surefire way of breaking the concentration. It's side to side with Davidson and Unverdrus now, as Davidson trying to make a move, and Iglesias coming in for the fun as well. And Unverdrus shows the hard shoulder to Alex Davidson, but Davidson's going to try and tough it out on that shoulder, and then hard on the brakes in for this left-hander as well. Davidson's got a nimble Ferrari just dancing around there as well, but Unverdrus again shutting the door, and all the while this is going on, McFarlane and Handover just pulling away a little bit as well, car length by car length. Again, they're still side by side as they come up towards it's a lot of switchbacks here at Motegi. Now a very tight right-hander here, which Unverdrus has the inside line for. They come around onto the back straight as well, and Unverdrus, oh my goodness me, that's, oh, it's a big pile-up, huge pile-up, both Brabham cars involved, another Pearson's car. Alex Davidson's pulled it over. Alex Davidson is pulled over at the side of the road. Now, Oh my goodness.
That is some huge stuff. That is a huge incident.
Well, if you are going to make that, and make no mistake, that was a bit of an error of judgment there from Davidson. If you're going to make that error, could that be a pivotal point in the championship where you make that error, but it's not, it might not be in a race that counts after all? As we've got a battle on for the lead here, Handover trying to keep McFarlane at bay, but McFarlane's got the job done. And could this be the story of Frost McFarlane's championship, that ends up winning a race, but then it could potentially not count? So, oh goodness me, what a wacky end to this race meeting at Motegi.
Wacky Races theme song needs to be playing here. So we go on here, down, basically half the field is currently sat on pit road right now. And a number of drivers have said that's enough for tonight. So, yeah, they're going on. Now, I don't know. See, I don't know if the word has got out that this race is null and void to those drivers or not. But the ones at the front, they're still racing. They're still racing hard. McFarlane at the front of this field. But, yeah, that was a huge, huge incident.
Yeah, I mean, it took virtually half the field with it, so it does appear that there could have been a word got down to some of the drivers, and that was it. But it does seem a little bit unusual. It was a big crash at a very fast part of the circuit, and cars spreading all over the place. So you never know. It could have been our Talladega big one for this season as well. What a wacky end to this race. 5 minutes to go, and I tell you what, Handover is not giving this up. And if Handover could retake this position, well, two things: one, it would be a heroic performance, and two, it would likely guarantee his position in the pro class in the future.
So trying to get the cut back there, that's what it was, trying to get the cut back, and just bang, 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 more cars come piling in. There's a big hit there, and I think there was even more came in just just driving at the car. Why are you driving at the car there? That's Adam Watson. Well, that's a very questionable driving from Adam.
He is not
this race.
His best day, has he?
Oh, Handover, big moment on the exit of the double apex left-hander. Iglesias goes through, and Handover now from racing for second place is struggling to hang on to fourth place, although trying to hang it on around the outside here.
It looked like he was already, Iglesias was already through when that contact between Locatello and Handover happened. So interesting stuff there, as well as Aaron Vasquez is going to try and get involved there as well. Remember, Aaron is fourth in the championship as well, so some points are important for him. As they go, getting really close in the braking zone there as well, as Vasquez tries to snip across the nose of Locatello, but decides better of it. Locatello snips the nose off again in return. So really tight racing there as well, and Daniel Handover trying to break the slipstream as best that he can from the two chasing cars. They hit the brakes. Vasquez going to have a try? No, not quite. Tell you what, Handover's really found himself in the eye of the storm here, but he's handled it so well. At the front though, Iglesias is hunting down McFarlane.
Certainly is. As they go through the right-hander across the start and finish line, we've got about 2 laps remaining here. Handover's going on the defensive. And down the inside goes Vasquez. No position gained there though, so Vasquez is doing it hard down there. Down this back straight now into this double apex left-hander. There's the left, and then another left. Back on the power. Vasquez just having to hang on behind as a bit of a wide line from Locatello. That allows Buemi and Critchley to go through.
Yeah, Ethan Critchley, another driver who's bounced back. It seems to be the night of the comeback kids. You know, Tom Brown's had a pretty tough bruising season at times, and he's bounced back well, as has Critchley in that race as well. So there's a lot of drivers who've really redeemed themselves quite well here at Twin Ring Motegi. And McFarlane has answered the question to Tristan Iglesias. The gap is now back up to over a second. So this is going to be a strong lap, I think, from McFarlane. They were inseparable last time by, but McFarlane opening up the gap.
As they go through, heading towards the right-hander, downhill, onto the brakes, and then through the right-hander. There's the dive made by Vasquez. No position gain there. I think Tom Brown could help out his teammate here, try and keep Vasquez busy behind. McFarlane, though, crosses the line to start the final lap of this race. And yeah, we have got the message then in the YouTube chat, and basically saying it'll be assessing viable options at the conclusion of this race. As well, Russ McFarlane, what's happened to him? McFarlane is in pit road. In fact, that is the end of the race.
How strange.
This has been the strangest race I have ever. The race.
There was still time on the clock.
Yeah, there was time on the clock.
Well,
he crossed the line. He crossed the line with 18 minutes and 32 seconds gone in a 20-minute race. I think this is one to send through to the to iRacing. I mean, Ross McFarlane, he's seen the checkered flag and said, right, well, I'm done. He's pulled off to the side of the track and finished the race. Everybody else is still fighting on. There's contact. I'll tell you what, get this on the iRacing top 10. I think is what we'll have to say.
Thinking you've been framed, but Barney's going to have a sore arm by the time they come back around with to see the checker flag again. It does mean Tristan Iglesias is 3.5 seconds ahead of Daniel Handover, who I think, regardless, whatever outcome comes of it, Daniel Handover, that was a superb performance with the cream of the pro class crop around him, and he did not look a bit out of place as Iglesias up to the line.
As across the line they come once again, and now Barney's waving the flag. He's waving the flag, so Iglesias. Well, now Iglesias is showing us won the race. What on earth just happened there? I have never, ever seen an event like this in iRacing. Like I say, I've been commentating on iRacing since 2015, February 2015, so I've been quite a few whiles. So yeah, so definitely an intriguing round of the championship. Do you know what? The first two races of the evening, Peter, were absolutely sensational. They were fantastic races, and then unfortunately, technical issues have led to us having a bit of a farcical end to the day.
These things can happen. They don't happen very often, but they can happen. Remember Formula 1 Indianapolis? Was it 2004? Yes. Technical issue completely ruined that event, so it can happen at the very top level. Thankfully, it doesn't happen very often.
Well,
we should applaud the drivers who cracked on and gave us a good race there anyway, I'd say. Exactly,
and fair play to them for giving us a bit of a show. I will say, we've seen events in real life where the checkered flag have been flown either early or late.
Oh yeah,
we've seen pace cars. We've seen pace cars pick up the wrong car when there's a safety car period. We've seen all sorts happen.
We're not talking about the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, are we?
No, not at all.
No.
Well, anyway, we're running through. We're running through the results there just to give you the results of who finished where in that one. That is the strangest event, absolute strangest event that I have ever been a part of here in iRacing, and obviously something is going to have to be investigated through all of that. Yeah, well, what we can do actually is speak to Leandro Anderuti. I mean, Peter, you can take it away with Leandro for his performance, especially in races 1 and 2.
Leandro, welcome to the RaceSpotTV commentary box. Let's kick off with race 1. You had some fantastic pace there in race 1. What do you think was the key to that pace that you had?
Hello guys, I think this time it was just the traction you have with the Porsche was pretty good on this track combo, and I don't know where, maybe I was surprised about my qualifying because I don't know where it came from, but yeah, I think the first race was good, second race was good, third race I don't talk about it, so.
Well, we appreciate that, Leandro. Let's talk about the championship as a whole. We're at the halfway point now. Taking the two races that we saw tonight, you and Alex just are still as close as ever. How are you feeling heading into the second half of the season and the fight that lies ahead for this pro title?
If I'm honest, it depends on how the third race they judge it, because I made a bit of a risky move, and depends on how the judges judge it, so we will see. I'm a bit worried.
Well, we certainly we've had a great experience watching the racing so far. This second half, or this first half of the season, I'm sure the second half is going to be very exciting indeed. Leandro, thanks so much for coming in to chat to us, and well done on a superb win in race 1.
Thank you, guys.
There we go then. That was, as you say, race winner from race number 1, Leandro Anderuti. And Peter, let's just focus on the positives of tonight. Races 1 and 2, we saw a really good opening race of this week. That reverse grid race with Ethan Critchlow coming through to win that one as well. Those were really entertaining races. We'll forget about that third race.
Yeah, I think absolutely loads of storylines. Leandro Anderuti is as modest as ever when he comes in to chat to us. I think he did an amazing job in race 1 to have such an advantage in pace and to pull away from the Altus Audis. That was really impressive from him, and he's really carried the Porsche Shield almost single-handedly in this championship this season. So that was great. Brilliant stuff from Ethan Critchlow to bounce back from really a weekend that he's clearly put to the back of his memory, which is great, from Zolder last time out. So a great performance from him. And actually, that third race, regardless of the outcome of it, I think Daniel Handover drove like a proper pro there among some of the best drivers in the World GT Championship history. So yeah, big props to him. And win, draw or loss, that was very impressive to watch.
It certainly was. Well, next time, we get a week off next week because it is week 13, the build week of iRacing. So we're not going to be here next week. We've got no touring cars on Thursday night either, so you get to have a bit of a break from us on that. But in 2 weeks' time, we head on over to Sebring International Raceway for one of the best endurance circuits in the world, and it is an endurance race that we're going to be having here in the World GT Championship. Make sure you join us for that, 8 o'clock UK time. Make sure you check your local listings for your appropriate times. But from myself, Paul Smith, from Peter Mackay, and from Hugo Luis in the production booth, it's goodbye from the World GT Championship.